Hey, what's going on, guys? It is your old pal CHH, and today I want to do a video. I was going to do this video talking about what I think the best Blu-ray label is. Horror boutique Blu-ray label is, 4K label, whatever you want to call it. But really, this all comes down to talking about Scream Factory. And I really wanted to talk about the future. Like, what's the future for Scream Factory? Because, you know, they're in a really interesting position right now. You know, for the record, I was going to do a video talking about who's the best boutique label right now. I'll give you the honest truth. Even though my collection is slim, to deny the fan base that Vinegar Syndrome has is incredible. They do everything the way collectors want it to. They make a party out of their announcements. Like, Scream Factory just kind of announces stuff, and usually you find out early because of the leaks. But Vinegar Syndrome keeps their stuff on such a tight lock, and they make parties, YouTube channels do streams getting ready for the launches of it. They package their stuff so incredibly well. They give you the options to buy the slipcover or not if you want to save a few bucks. I mean, they will be their surviving boutique label, mark my words. Even though they put out more low-tier titles and really cheap stuff a lot, they have cultivated a fan base that has made them to the point where they're able to put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which kind of comes back to Scream Factory. You know, the interesting position that they're in right now, they lost that film. Maybe it was calculated, but I don't know the behind the scenes on that. But, you know, I just can't imagine them losing that title. But, you know, looking back, I guess the question is this. Do you think, or do I think, has Scream Factory peaked? Have they reached the highest plateau that they can reach? You know, what I mean by that is this. I mean, I remember, let me give you guys a little story. Man, when in 2014... I had been collecting Scream Factory titles for a few years at that point. Not that long, because I think 2012 was the start. And if you were there, I really can't put into words the excitement for the release of Halloween's 2 and 3 on Blu-ray if you weren't there. It was so incredibly, like, the hype was so real, because this was the first time in my life as a collector I felt these films are being validated, because they're getting collector's releases with these incredible special features, and this is like such a big deal. And it was a big deal. Those Halloween 2 and 3 Blu-rays, when they had new art crafted just for the release, the excitement of that was incredible, and people were on edge waiting for it. And I'll never forget getting that Blu-ray for Halloween 3. I got it the day it was released. I pre-ordered it, and having that release was, like, I said Scream Factory is my favorite thing on the planet. And, you know, they continued to do a lot of titles. They were the label I felt that really brought a lot of the horror fan favorites to the dance, because it, like, Synapse and companies like that were around, and of course Anchor Bay was doing it first. I can't take that away, but that was DVD for the most part. And, you know, I think a lot of physical media collectors now, they're into Blu-ray still and 4K, and Scream Factory was that company that really picked up where Anchor Bay kind of left off, and really you know, started this incredible rise. The first couple years of Scream Factory were remarkable. You know, leading down a couple years, I'll never forget the Mecca, something nobody ever thought was going to happen. And to a lot of people, this is still the greatest thing that Scream Factory has ever done, and that was the Halloween box set. And getting this thing done, this was not easy. To make this happen was so many rights issues, so many limited time deals and offers. It was remarkable to make this happen, the Scream Factory box set for the Halloween films. And not only that, they also got the producer's cut restored for the first time in a legal release. I mean, it was... I still get goosebumps thinking about this, because the day it was announced, I couldn't believe it. Even by that point, I was privy to licensing and things like that, and I would say, okay, this is Miramax, this is Trancas. They're not going to be able to do physical... once you get into it, you realize when you see a Steve Martin collection on DVD, those 4 or 5 movies in there, they're all under the Universal banner. They're all from the same umbrella. They don't mix and match that often, because that's licensing, and it just, the kind of stuff just doesn't happen. As time went on, you know, Scream Factory was doing all this great stuff, but then Arrow started to get a real good foothold in America. They'd always been a UK company, it seems like, but they really started to press and get some they started getting into the slasher genre. And they were putting out good stuff like, you know, that Thanksgiving slasher film, I forget the name of it. They were doing The Mutilator. Then they got Killer Clowns. Like, they got Killer Clowns. And competition started to get stiff in the boutique, label. But Scream Factory has always been able to hold a good footing in the boutique market, and people love their stuff. And even just a few years ago, it's remarkable that we got this. Now, this really blew me away, and I think, I love this Halloween box set. I think this is the best thing that they'd ever done. But the problem is this. It's good now, and I don't know that this is necessarily Scream Factory to blame or not, but, the thing that I remember when I look at this was the issues that it had. More than one movie had missing parts in it. There was audio missing. They didn't even put a scene in from one of the Jason Goes to Hell gore sequences, and it was a mess. And the interesting thing was on the internet. There were people that would say, why are you complaining if this little shred of this or that is missing? Look what Scream Factory did for us, blah, blah, blah. And then there were other people, and I fell on this side of the coin myself. If I'm paying a premium price for something, you damn well better make it right. And if you're doing something for the Friday the 13th fans, they know every nook and cranny of these films. A lot of them even way better than me. So if you leave out an audio, thing or a gore sequence, it better be in there. And that was a disaster, this release, when it came out. It was a disaster. People were getting 2 Part 3s instead of their Part 4 in there. They were getting 2 Part 6s and missing their Part 5. It was crazy. And that was when I noticed, from that point on, for me, I feel like the golden era of Scream Factory was really the start of the company till the release of Friday the 13th. And once Friday the 13th came out, despite the fact that now I think it's an incredible box set, and we got those legendary gore images from Part 2, and some would still argue that this is the best, considering we got Halloween 6 Producer's Cut, and I wouldn't argue that. I feel like that was the plateau for Scream Factory, this box set. And the different thing is this, I feel like even though physical media on a grand scale is probably sinking, it's interesting that, when this came out, they still did a budgeted version of this box set, which I have somewhere floating around here. But basically, Scream Factory was able to put out a box set of the Halloween films, withholding some of the specialty things in it, like the producer's cut of Part 6, although that was released by Miramax themselves at the same time. Interestingly enough, though, Scream Factory, they put this out. There was no budget version of the Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory, and that might be a Paramount thing, but I also believe that, I think these companies, despite the fact that physical media is dying on a grand scale, meaning the stores, they're not selling as much, I still think companies like Paramount notice there is still a market for it. We just got to tackle them directly. We got to just, make it direct. It's online and things like that. So Paramount's like, no, we're not going to let you guys do anything else with the Friday the 13th films. That's it, Scream Factory. They themselves are re-releasing the movies with the 4K scans that were included in this box set. They themselves are putting out some of the movies on 4K. For instance, we got Friday the 13th way earlier this year or sometime late last year, Part 1, and I'm knocking on wood, hoping we get an announcement for Friday the 13th Part 2. I am vocally a Friday the 13th physical media collector, so anything that they put out I like to get. But it was after this box set that I feel like we've kind of left the golden era of Scream Factory. But it's I don't really like their business practices, to be honest with you. For instance, we're in this weird state of all their titles that they put out over that nearly 10-year span of, Wes Craven films, John Carpenter films. It's all getting re-released on 4K. And it is what it is. I get that. Granted, I get a lot of those titles, because a lot of those movies, whether I like to admit it or not, I watch them often, and if I can see them in the best picture quality, that's great. And this really isn't even a hate piece for Scream Factory. I think they're a great company. I have to wonder, though, maybe the writing's on the wall for them. I can't look at sales charts. I don't know what they're selling. I didn't see a whole lot of people get this. I didn't see a whole lot of people talk about this. Scream Factory went out of their way to get and license The Company of Wolves, this incredibly cool canon film from the 80s that's like a Little Red Riding Hood werewolf movie with some crazy effects. This was the first time it ever hit 4K ever, and it had a Blu-ray overseas, but it was a crappy one. This movie was kind of lost on physical media in America. Well, Scream Factory got it, put it out on 4K, and if I had to bet money, it probably didn't sell half as much as, say, John Carpenter's Escape from New York on 4K. And that's the interesting thing to me. If I'm right, you know, there's a lot of people that are upset that this is the world Scream Factory's in right now. We're just re-releasing everything. But what really gets me is not that. It's the delivery system of how they're doing this. If you're putting stuff out on 4K, that's awesome. But why make people have to buy double the posters and double the slipcovers just to get new commissioned art? You should be doing that to get me to just rebuy the movie again to begin with. Because you know who your audience is, Scream Factory. New people aren't going to say, oh, let's get Creepshow on 4K. No, it's the person that's probably already bought the movie before. And maybe you're just saying to yourself, what the hell, they're going to get it anyway? And if that's the case, maybe you guys are right. But for me, I look at other companies and the way they operate, and I just think that they are doing it a little bit better than you guys. I think, in my humble opinion, instead of making me have to buy, and I'm not, mind you, I finally said enough is enough, I really like the new Creepshow artwork on the 4K set. I think the art is beautiful, it's colorful. I would love to have that 4K with that awesome slipcover. Scream Factory says, okay, Christian, you want that? You have to buy the 4K itself, which of course, you have to buy the original cover 4K slipcover with the original art. You have to buy the original poster art. Then you have to buy the new artwork, and then the new artwork with the slipcover. That's ridiculous. Why are you guys doing this? I don't understand. Why do you think people want to own multiple slipcovers for one movie? What the hell are they supposed to do with the other one? I've just put my foot down. I seriously, if it's a movie I want and I watch frequently, like Creepshow, I watch it at least once a year. It's a classic. It's one of my favorite George Romero films. I'm just waiting for it to hit Amazon. And I'm just going to get it at the movie with the slipcover from the original art. It sucks because they did the same thing with Dead Silence. They did really great art for that. And the only way to own it, you had to buy everything. You had to buy double posters, double slipcovers. It is utterly ridiculous. I have no idea what they're thinking. And then the one thing I thought they were doing that was cool was doing steelbooks for these movies. And no offense to the original run of those steelbooks, they looked like crap. These new 4K steelbooks they're doing are incredibly great. I think that they did such a remarkable job with They Live and Army of Darkness. What happened to those? It's like they just stopped doing them. Maybe they have to get a license with the studio to be able to do a steelbook. Again, it may be something that's over my head, but regardless, that's stopped seemingly. We haven't gotten one since, I guess, They Live. No, I know that they did some with Shout Factory with those Lyco Studios, whatever. My wife gets those movies, and that's cool. But I don't understand Scream Factory anymore. So I don't know what their future holds. I don't know what their balance sheets look like. But I just feel like they should really start to take a step back and look at the market and say we need to become more competitive to hold our place. I just feel like things are a little bit off with them. And like I said, granted, maybe they got sour when they try to put out titles like this or Alligator, and they may not sell as well as, say, Prince of Darkness or even Black Christmas or The Funhouse, or titles that they've relicensed again and again. I don't know. And then you have to wonder about the stiff competition. I feel that Vinegar Syndrome went on the attack to get Texas Chainsaw 2 on 4K. Maybe Scream Factory hedged their bets and they're dealing with those Halloween films on 4K, and that might be taking a lot of time, money, and resources from them. But Vinegar Syndrome's coming in hot, and they need to watch out. So I think Scream Factory, what they need to do in closing of this video, guys, I think Scream Factory desperately needs to start cornering a new market. What is that market, you might add? 2000s horror. I think the time is right. I think people are ready to revisit these films. I think we need to be getting collector's edition Blu-rays or 4Ks of the My Bloody Valentine remake. We need to get new 4Ks of Vacancy, a great little 2000s film with one of the Wilson brothers, not Owen Wilson, but maybe Rainn or something. I don't know. We need to not Rainn Wilson. That's the guy from The Office. You know what I'm talking about, though. We need to be cultivating that era of movies. They've done some in the past. There's a slasher film from 2008, The Hills Run Red, I believe, that they put out, and I like that release. They did a good job. Cultivate that market, because you have got to start doing something for your dedicated fans and supporters, I feel, as opposed to making us have to buy $130 worth of stuff just to get new commissioned artwork. It's not right in my opinion, and I don't agree with it, and I'm voting with my dollar. As cool as it is, I'm not spending all that money to have 2 slipcovers. That's my 2 cents. So I have my issues with Scream Factory, but granted, they've done some incredible stuff, and they'll always be in my good graces. They have made physical media collecting for horror one of the most fun things ever. So I don't know, Scream Factory. I doubt you're ever going to hear this or listen to this, and it's really not for you. I'm really talking to my audience, which I want to hear your guys' opinion. But, I mean, how do you feel? Do you agree with where I'm at on this whole thing with Scream Factory? Or are you new to physical media, and you don't even bother ordering from Scream Factory? You just get the movies as they come out from Best Buy or Amazon? Let me know how you guys feel about this. I just really wanted to kind of get this kind of stuff off my chest and talk about it in a formal video. Thank you guys for listening. My name's Christian. People call me CHH. Like this video if you have not. Drop a comment below, and please sub to the channel if you haven't. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.